Hello and welcome to HCA 214 Integrated Healthcare Delivery Systems. My name is Chris Gibbons. I'm going to be your instructor for the next 8 weeks as we go through this course. I'm also the director for the Healthcare Administration program, so you've probably seen some information, some materials with my name on it, letters, etc. Well, this is me again, Chris Gibbons, the director of the Healthcare Administration program. Now, over the next 8 weeks, you're going to be learning basically about the healthcare system. This class is designed to be an overview of what we have in the United States today. So we have a lot of material, but we're not going to cover a lot of it in great depth. So it's kind of a mile wide, but only about 3 feet thick. But still, there's going to be a lot of coverage in here. But this will set the foundation for you as you go through all of your other courses, so you have a good understanding of what the healthcare system is like in the United States today, which is obviously changing every week. So it is a very hard moving target to really define what healthcare is in the United States as of this week. But we're going to do our best. But I guess know anything. Healthcare is a moving target. What it's going to be, how it's going to evolve, but I think that makes it very, very exciting to be involved in. There are very few industries that move at the pace that healthcare is moving. So maybe, I guess the closest thing you could think of would be the IT fields. So, technology fields, computer fields, cloud-based computing, that kind of stuff. That environment moves very, very fast. But so does healthcare, which is often very heavily based in the technology aspect as well. All right, so what I would like to do in this little introduction is spend a few minutes talking a little bit about the course and about the syllabus. I know a lot of you are new to the program. This is your first course required for the program, so I'm going to do some walkthroughs as well, just to kind of get you acclimated to what the course looks like and how to progress. For those of you that are old hands at doing online learning, especially here at Mercy College, just bear with it. I won't spend a lot of time on that because again, I know about half of the class is really new and the other class has been through quite a bit with us already. So, all right, well, first let's take a look at the syllabus. Now, the syllabus is going to be your guide through this course. You know, what to do, what are the projects. So always refer back to that. That should help you should you have some basic questions like that. I recommend that you print out the syllabus. Of course, you have a digital copy. You got the links, the PDFs, whatnot. But it's always nice to have that printed copy folded up and stick it in your textbook. All right, so let's take a quick look at the syllabus here. We'll get my picture off and bring up the syllabus. Okay, so again, hopefully all of you have printed this out. We try to keep our syllabi pretty much a consistent format, so as you read through it, you can kind of get the gist. They're all hopefully pretty much the same. In here, you got the basic description of what the course is. But again, we're really looking at an overview of the U.S. healthcare system in this course. A couple of things of important note is right up here. You will see at the very top my email address, my office number, and my cell phone number. Please do not hesitate to contact me should you have any questions or concerns. The best way to get a hold of me is through text message. I can usually get back to you within a few minutes, if not a few hours, through text message. So I do put my cell phone on there. Please don't be bashful to text me. I am running multiple classes, so it gets confusing for me to know who I'm talking to. So all I ask is that when you do a text, lead it off with the class that you're in. HCA 214, my name is Joe Smith. I have a question about blah, blah, blah. And so that just keeps me track because then I have to usually, well, what class are we in? I don't know which section. So lead that off just by what class that you're in, and then your question. And usually I can get back to you pretty quick unless I'm out driving or out with the kids. But it'll be far quicker than email, far quicker than virtual office, and even probably quicker than the phone because I am not tied to the phone at all times, my office phone. So don't be bashful to use my cell phone and text me. All right, and of course I'm available for if you have any lengthy discussions, you can always we can make a time, square some time away where we can talk about things kind of one-on-one with any kind of detailed issues. So we have office hours by appointment. All right, on the front page, you got add drop dates, so be aware of those add drop dates in here. Hopefully none of you will drop the course, but for any reason, if you have to drop the course, be aware of these dates and the refund period involved there. Here we have the course objectives, what we're going to learn over the next 8 weeks. Feel free to read through those, but again, the general theme is that we're going to get you acclimated to the healthcare system in the United States so you understand the basics of U.S. provided healthcare. And we might even touch a little bit upon some other international systems, but since we have such limited time, we're going to focus our efforts pretty much on you understanding the U.S. because you're pretty much going to be working in the U.S. Even though someday, who knows when, who knows, no one can tell, but maybe our system might evolve into something similar to what they have in Canada or Great Britain or Russia or who knows. So it is kind of a nice idea to look at those foreign systems as well. So take a look at our course learning objectives. In here, you see the also the required texts for the books, or books that required for this class. And we have 2 of them. The first one is the, as I'm grabbing it here, is Healthcare USA. It's the one that has like a kind of a flag on the front of it. Hopefully you have that. It is the 8th edition. Make sure you have that textbook. Some of you have contacted me. I know there's issues getting textbooks, always issues getting textbooks. For whatever reasons, it happens to everybody. No big deal. I will provide PDFs, at least for the first couple of weeks of the readings, so you can have those at hand. They're not the best thing in the world to read from, but they're legible, and they will get you through just fine. But do try to have your textbook by Module 3. The publishers don't like it when I copy their entire textbook. They get a little angry at me, but I can usually copy about 3 weeks worth without getting a notice from them. So please make sure you have ordered your textbook from a reputable textbook seller. That's Healthcare USA. And then the other book that you'll notice that was required, and you may be a head scratcher, why was this required? But it's the publication manual for the American Psychological Association. I'm just going to call it the APA manual. At Mercy College, we have a certain format that we do our writing, and that writing is an APA format, the American Psychological Association format. There's a lot of different formats out there, MLA, Chicago. You may have learned one of those formats in high school or another college. We as a college just picked APA way back when, so we're an APA school. So when you're doing those academic writing here at the college, it is nice to have that manual to show you basically how you do things in an APA paper. So you want to keep that publication manual with you pretty much throughout the entire program. That's one you don't necessarily want to sell back. Now, I did get a question earlier this week from a student before the program started, or the class started, about textbooks and selling them back. That's really up to you. Again, the one textbook I'd recommend keeping is the APA manual. All the other ones you could technically sell back, and I understand textbooks are very expensive. Many students now are renting textbooks, which I think is great as well. That's almost like buying it and selling it back, but now you have a rental agreement versus doing all that, which I think makes it easier. And I think it's even a lot cheaper as well. So my recommendation is no, you don't need to keep your primary textbooks as you go through the program. Now, some of the knowledge will be accumulative, but what we hope you learn here is not a reliance on a textbook. We hope that you learn to be able to learn on your own, that you can go out and get those resources, especially those newer, up-to-date resources, as you are tying in various things, concepts as you go through the program. So at the very end of the program, when you're taking maybe one of your capstone courses and you want to bring something back on human resource management, you don't have to go back to that textbook. You should be able to have the skills to go out and find that information and bring that back in to the classroom, into the paper, into an application that you are doing. So it's okay to sell your books back, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Though some students keep a library and they keep all of their books throughout the entire program, That's great too. If you've got the money, it's a nice way to go. It's always some of these references are pretty timeless, and finance doesn't change that much. Accounting doesn't change that much. So some of these are pretty timeless references if you did want to keep them, but by all means not required. With a caveat, I will say one caveat. There are some courses here at the college that may use one textbook for 2 courses in order to save you money. For example, one of the courses I am teaching is an accounting course in the first 8 weeks and a finance course in the second 8 weeks. We use one textbook for both. Again, a great way for students to save money, and then they can sell that book back after they're done with the final course in that series, which is the finance component. So just be aware that you don't have a textbook that's going to be used for a subsequent course. All right, so that covers kind of the required materials there. Necessary skills and equipment. I'll spend a couple of minutes on this. Again, knowing that some of you are new to the program. So we are a Microsoft Office school, if you will. All of our instructors have Office. That is the one document that we can open. So please make sure you submit all of your assignments in Office or in Word, so your instructors can open that. There's a lot of great ways to get Microsoft Office at a discount. You can go to Microsoft. You can get a severely discounted rate because you are a student here at Mercy College, or really at any college with a .edu email address. So you can get a discount on that. Actually, quite a bit of software out there will discount for you if you have a .edu email, which you all do. So try not to ever pay retail on any software. And there are many other options out there for free applications, totally free, like Google, for example. Google Drive, which has a word processor and spreadsheet and a PowerPoint simulation. All of those applications can be saved in a Microsoft Office format, so your instructor can open that. So there are some ways to get free software that pretty much does the same thing. All right. I do find it easier though if you do have Office. It makes your life a lot easier. It tends to all work together. And with the discounts out there now, pretty darn cheap. For around $70, you can get a 4-year subscription to Office 365, which will last you hopefully through your entire time here at the program. All right, so make sure you have PowerPoint. OpenOffice is also one of those free ones out there that I'm referring to. Make sure you got Word and or OpenOffice or Google or something that will save in that format. The next one usually throws people for a little bit of a loop, and that's a headset with microphone. Now, you will be doing some presentations. You'll actually be doing one in this class. We want to get you used to doing presentations. So you're going to want to make sure, and that's what I expect. This is going to, there's going to be some bugs to be worked out, which is okay. That's why we do this in this particular class up front, to kind of work out all the kinks. You will want to make sure that you have a microphone. Now, most laptops usually have an incorporated microphone into them, but the sound is usually pretty poor. So Macs, not so bad. It's pretty good on Macs, but you're going to want to test that to make sure that we can hear you clearly and that you don't sound like you're in the bottom of a well talking to us. The easiest way to do that is to get a headset microphone or one of these little tiny stick microphones, these USB or depending on what your system has. I think the USB is probably about the easiest, but you can get them for $10, $15, and it improves the sound greatly. So take a look at that. And you'll want to make sure that you have a webcam. Again, your laptop has probably got a webcam incorporated into it. And those tend to be good enough. So as long as you got that. Okay, so that covers some of the, the equipment here. The rest is kind of basic. We'll go through that, but let's go through the meat and potatoes of the course, the grades and the assignments. So each week we're going to have discussion boards. We're going to have 9 of those. Those are going to be threaded discussions where you'll write a main post and you'll be usually required to reply back to a couple of other students. Make sure you look at what's required that week and fulfill all those requirements in the time frame that is requested. We're going to have a weekly quiz, multiple choice, maybe some short answer in there as well. So you have some weekly quizzes in here, and you'll have a weekly assignment that'll be in there. So you kind of see those will be the recurring things. You're going to have a discussion board, a quiz, and a weekly assignment. If you look, you add up those totals here, the 180, the 160, and the 120. That right there is easily about half of the course. So, and those are relatively easy points to get. So make sure you do those assignments. The quizzes are obviously open book, open note. The assignments are not meant to be that difficult, and discussion boards aren't that difficult. So make sure you do that stuff on a weekly basis, and all the other stuff will tend to fall into place. We're going to have a research project, and we're going to carve it up into 4 parts at 50 points each, so you kind of get used to doing that throughout the entire 8 weeks. We'll talk more about that in just a second. They're going to have research project comments where you'll be commenting on your fellow students on their research project. And we're going to have something called weekly reflections. And that'll be, again, kind of those easy points to do, so please do those. And it'll be a way for us to communicate. You're going to submit basically like a journal, a paragraph. It's going to be 100 words. We'll have maybe some central themes that week that I want you to discuss, but it's also a way for you to talk about anything you want. You could be talking about, hey, Chris, I'm really having a difficulty in this other HCA course. I could really use some help. Whatever you want to talk about, we can talk about in those weekly journaling assignments. You're going to write those, and then I'm going to be giving you responses back in the feedback on those weekly reflections. Again, a way for us to establish, I guess, a weekly communication. That's what's really important about online learning, is establishing that communication, going back and forth between your instructor and the student, making sure that's going on. We can identify problems a lot quicker that way, whether it's a problem on my end where something doesn't make sense, or you're having a difficulty on your end. The quicker that we address these, the better. Or, again, we can have all kinds of topics. We've talked about all kinds of things in these weekly reflections. So you'll have 8 of those, and we'll have a midterm and final exam. Those will be kind of your standard multiple choice, fill in the blank, some short essay in there, all open note, open book. Grading scale. Our typical Mercy grading scale, for those of you that are new, not always required for every class, but most of our classes follow this. Most of our classes at the college follow this particular format. So just be careful about that, because a 93 to 1,000 is an A. So if you got a 92% in the class, you actually got a B. So be careful. Make sure you're watching your grades, getting every point that is possible, so you can all get that A. Nothing wrong with a B too, but a lot of folks said, well, hey, I had a 92%. I thought I had the A. Nope, our cutoff is at 93 and above is the A. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the activities that we're going to have, the discussion boards we talked about, the weekly reflection, the quizzes. Again, we're going to be doing a presentation project, which we're going to carve up into 4 different pieces to make it a little bit more digestible for you and get you used to kind of doing a project. And our midterm and final, we've talked about that as well. Okay, so that pretty much concludes. Let's go ahead and get this off of here, and I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of the class. So for those of you that are pretty familiar with the 8-module format, you can tune me out if you want at this point, or feel free to enjoy the ride here for a few minutes. But I'm going to talk about kind of the general flow of the course for the rest of the individuals here. So I'm going to spend a couple minutes on how you kind of actually progress through a typical course here at the college. All right, so let's go ahead and get my picture off here once again. So the big thing that you'll want to remember, and let me just kind of start from scratch here. When you first sign on, you're going to hit the course landing page. And you'll always want to glance at the news, which is right up in here. And you're going to have news items that are going to be filling this area. These are news items that are specific to this course. And I like to use this area a lot, kind of as an active blog. If we have updates, changes to the syllabus, extra credits, or what have you, it's usually going to appear in the news section. So always stop, look, read, watch my little video like this one that I've just posted. There's usually going to be weekly videos in there from me, at least talking about the chapter and kind of concluding things up for the previous, or the module, and concluding things up for the previous module. So always take a look at the course news. Then from here, you will want to click the content button. Content is the key to the course. It's really where the course exists, is in that content area. And that's where you will see, if you look over here, on the left-hand side, you see the 8 modules that you'll have that correspond to the 8 weeks of the course. And each module, if you noticed, has a little open date. Begins January 16th, begins January 9th, January 23rd. You cannot get into those modules until that week. So you can't work ahead. I mean, you can work a little bit ahead because you know some of the assignments, you know you got the syllabus. It's encouraged to work a little bit ahead, but we do want to be in generally on the same pace as we go through the course. So check that out. Check out the module open dates there. Also, we have major course projects in here that you can see some information on the 4 parts of our research project that are in there. So let's go ahead and take a look at a typical module, Module 1. So usually there's a little bit of preamble about what the module is about that I've written in here, and then the objectives of what we're going to be learning this week in the module down here. Then below that, you'll see the various activities, which should, if I've done it right, should correspond to that syllabus. If you go back to the syllabus, there is a schedule in there that shows week by week what we have due. And that should also kind of mirror what's in the module. So we're going to have our weekly assignment, our discussion, our quiz, and then our weekly reflection. So that kind of makes sense. So that same pattern over and over again. Know that our weekly reflections will open a little bit later this week. I believe that starts on January 12th, which I believe is Thursday. And you have to have that done by Sunday. Reason for that is it's a reflection. It's a reflection of that week's activity. I want that week to at least unfold a little bit before you do that weekly reflection. I've had students, well, can I do it on Tuesday? Well, we've only been in the module for a couple of days. I kind of want things to happen, and things always do to students. So I want a little bit of time to progress before you do that reflection. So that will open up on Thursday for you. So please do not do that early. Try to wait till Thursday. I mean, you can wait until Sunday if you wanted to, but you do try to complete that towards the end of the week. So make sure you kind of play around with these. Again, if you're new, you'll click on here. If these are all links, like for the introduce yourself, you go in there. It'll tell you, kind of what you need to do. Make sure you always follow these, because that's what I'm grading on. I'm looking for, did you put your name? Did you put your program of study? If I notice you didn't put one of those in there, you get points off. So make sure you kind of follow, what's ever specified in there. And do have your post up by Thursday. So that's when you're kind of addressing these questions. And then everybody does it, on Thursday or earlier if you can. And then you'll go back in, usually on Friday or Saturday, and you'll respond back to 2 other students. Make sure you look at the number of peer responses required. I usually have 2, and they're due by Sunday. So just make sure you do that. A lot of students, though, what we hope is that, like let's say with this introduce yourself, a lot of folks are doing this today, tomorrow. Then you can go back in, you can respond to them right away, and they have conversations going back and forth. So even though you're only required to have 2 responses, they often carry the conversation out throughout the entire week, which I think is really, really cool. All right, so I'm just going to go back here to the module. That was just a sample of an assignment. In this case, that was the discussion assignment. Let me talk a little bit about the quizzes. Just be careful. They are timed. So even though they are open book, open note, you want to make sure you've read the chapter. Make sure you've read the chapter. If there's any videos that week that you've watched the videos, then you can go for it. A lot of students make notes, or they dog-ear pages, or put post-its on various critical pages, so they do have a question, they can look it up. You won't be able to look up every answer. You might be able to look up a couple of answers, but don't think that, I won't read it. I'll just click start, and then you realize, oh my God, I don't have time to look up every one. So we do want you to have retained some of that mastery of the material. So they are timed, so be careful there on the quizzes. And that is pretty much it. So you'll notice that each module will have the same kind of flow in there, with the same kind of assignments that you'll have to do every week. Again, some will be a little bit different when we start doing like the major course project that we do in the 4 parts. But make sure that you, again, look at the syllabus, make sure you get everything done that the syllabus says, and also all the items that will be located within the module itself. Other than that, hopefully the courses are pretty easy to navigate. And if there is anything that you find that doesn't work, a button that doesn't click right, or a PDF that doesn't load, please let me know. I could and do make mistakes, and I'll be happy to fix that pretty quickly. And then lastly, I said it in the beginning, I'll say it again. If you do have any questions or concerns, please contact me. Remember, I'm the director for the HCA program, so that really stretches across anything that you do here at the college. I am the lead person in your success team if you're in the HCA program. I am the lead person for you to help navigate resources, and that can be in really any area. It's not necessarily the academic side that I can help you with. We often have other issues that come up that the college has support mechanisms for. So please do reach out to me at any time should you have any questions or concerns. Again, you'll have my cell phone number after today, so make sure you plug that into your phone. Actually, it's kind of funny because I just got a text message from a student, not even taking one of my classes, about a little bit of an issue that she is having. But that's what I want to hear from. I want to be able to get that. I want to be able to solve that really quickly for her in this case, or for you should anything come up. You also have your academic advisor, Mary. Many of you have met Mary Ock. She is the academic advisor for the HCA program. Make sure you use her if you have any questions about what courses I should take. She's a great resource for that. I can help with that as well. I've done academic advising for years. Pretty much have that down, but Mary's another wonderful resource for you. And there you'll find many other resources here at the college as you go through the program. All right, well, there's our little welcome video for this week. Thank you so much for watching, and I will check in with you next week. Thanks.